are great plants to add to the garden. In fact, they come in a range of different styles that you could actually incorporate for different design purposes in your garden. There are a lot of alliums. In fact, it's one of the largest genres in the Amaryllidaceae family with over 850 species. Now, they are true bulbs, and so in some cases, some of the larger alliums, you can actually plant individual bulbs, and then some, like what we have here, it creates more of a clump, and you can get several flowers out of that clump. Now, there's probably one allium that you're very familiar with, and that's onion. Of course, you know it as a single bulb that you can plant. So the thing that alliums have in common is that they often have this strappy-like foliage, and that's because they are monocots. So they kind of have that grass-like vegetation. The other thing is when they have a flower, they produce a round umbel flower. So some of those single ornamental bulbs can be quite large. But what we have here is known as the Millennium Allium, and it's actually a clump-forming allium. Now, when I first saw this allium, I really appreciated it for its design ornamental feature because it blooms later in the season than some of your other alliums and chives and things like that. So this is going to bloom later, but it's going to have a real vibrant pink, almost purple flower on it that's about 2 inches in diameter. So it'll have a lot of those. You can see some of these old stems on here from last year's flowers. And we have this growing here in a pot, but it's been successful. You can see it's really taken off and spread. So at this point, we're going to take it out and divide it. So in order to do that, I'm just going to kind of tip this container over. It's pretty dry actually, so it falls out easily. And you can see that root mass. So it's been very happy in here. And in order to divide these, what we're going to do is sort of look to see if there's any natural division in here. But really, you're just going to take a knife or a saw. These garden saws work really well to split them and start cutting them in half. And as we do this, you'll probably notice that a lot of the roots are actually on the exterior. So as we split it up, you'll notice there's all these roots on the outside. That's because they've hit the side of the pot and started circling. Meanwhile, on the inside, there's not as much roots. So this is one reason, especially if it's in a container, you want to make sure that you are dividing those up. So we're just going to leave that kind of as one clump because most of this, you can see, is just potting soil over here. Now this, we can get several, probably 3 more cuttings out of it. Again, we're just going to go in here and saw it in half. This is the same as what you would do for ornamental grasses too, to divide them. Now, one thing, if this was smell-o-vision, you would notice is you're going to definitely get that onion and garlic smell. Again, that's characteristics of all alliums. So here we have another clump that we can plant in the garden. And when we do that, again, we just want to make sure that we're kind of breaking up those roots on the exterior so they don't continue to circle. And now we've got one more clump, and I'm just going to divide this in half here and simply cut it just like that. So you can see some of those bulbs that are down there at the base, and that's okay if you've accidentally cut those in half. It doesn't have to be exact, but there's going to be enough for it to continue on as a plant. Now, if you were to divide this a lot more, you could get several plants out of this, but be mindful that the more you divide it, the more susceptible those divisions are to drying out. So be aware of that. So I think we're going to stop at 4 here, and this will give us a nice start for our next spring's garden. Now, because these bloom so late in the season, you can either do this early in the spring because they haven't started producing any flower buds, or you can do this later in the fall as well.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.